The Challenge Cup also had its knockout stages at the weekend, and now we've got a pretty good draw for the quarterfinals. My name's Mark. Let's talk rugby. So obviously at the weekend, it was the Champions Cup that got, much of the coverage and not just, anywhere like, from me as well. I covered 7 of the 8 games in the Champions Cup. Didn't have time, unfortunately, to cover the Challenge Cup. Like, it's my dream one day to be able to just do, covering matches full time, but, retirement is a while away from me. So, until then, we just have to make do with what we can, right? But I do promise that next weekend we have the quarterfinals. I'm going to be covering games from both the Champions Cup and the Challenge Cup where the schedule allows it. Okay, so I'm going to be picking out a few games to cover, including Connacht, obviously wearing their jersey today and representing them. But yeah, I would have loved to have covered the Connacht game this weekend gone, but just not enough time, especially because busy. I wasn't like officially working, but I was still doing bits and pieces for work as well in between games, which was fun because I was also recording all of the reviews in between the games as well. So a bit of a hectic weekend, but next weekend there are going to be less games, 8 between the 2 competitions. So I should be able to cover, I'm always reticent to make promises because I know that sometimes I don't deliver on them, but I'm looking to cover maybe 5 or 6 between all of the competitions. So probably, all of the Champions Cup and then 1 or 2 from the Challenge Cup. Again, depending on if schedules allow. But yeah, there's definitely going to be at least 1 Challenge Cup game and probably 2. If I can do more, brilliant, but I'm not going to promise more than that. But what we're going to do in this video is we're going to talk about the results from the weekend, a little bit about each of the games. Not going to go into too much details because the most I've seen from games like are highlights, and some games not even highlights. So I'm not going to pretend that I know exactly what happened in each of these games, but I want to go, kind of run down through kind of the main things that happen in the games anyway, and then we talk a little bit about each of the teams, and then we look very briefly ahead to the quarterfinals because there will be a preview of the quarterfinals coming, probably Wednesday or Thursday at this stage because we're on Tuesday night now, and like I'm already conscious, like it was another long day in work, so it's kind of late at night here when I'm recording this, but I promised I'd have it up by today, and I want to keep that promise. So without further ado, let's get into the games. So first of all, first game of the weekend in the Challenge Cup was Edinburgh 24, Lions 12. So Edinburgh leading that one 17-0 at halftime, had a brilliant start. 2 tries in the first 10 minutes, 3 tries in the first 30. Lions, they had Kewan Horn. He went to the bin in the first half, and they not really, much in terms of like Frankie Horn scored a try just after halftime to give them a little bit of a glimmer of a hope. But then, that was, I think, around the same time that Gilchrist was in the bin for Edinburgh. And then Edinburgh then scored another try in the last 10 minutes to pretty much seal the win. So, Lions, one of the things we talked about in the preview of this was their away form, it has been very poor this season. And, had the fixture been reversed, maybe would have given the Lions a chance, but it was one of those ones where they fell behind very early and found it very hard to work their way back to the game at all. And even when they got back to 17-12, it felt like Edinburgh were going to find something else, which they did, to make it a little bit more comfortable in the end. So Edinburgh progress. Lions, not really too shocked, honestly, that they went out. But I talk about them all the time. Like, I want to see them improving. I want to see the lines of, was it now? Is it 10 years ago or something? From like that were like a dominant force in Super Rugby. We need to see those lines in the URC, and I think it's coming. They're building, but it's going to take a while before they get back to that level. Okay, on to the next game then. It was POW 24, BAT 49. Halftime score then was 10-28. So BAT with a healthy lead, and to get a try in the first minute, 4 tries in the first half. POW kind of respond with a try and a penalty midway through the half. That at the point, like that point, kind of had them a little bit in touch, but then BAT went on. They got 4 tries in the first half, but 2 of them were after POW got back to 14-10. So a healthy lead at half time. Into the second half, then we have Sam Underhill gets a red card in 55 minutes. We have a mini revival from POW, after that red card, but the game was already gone at that stage. BAT had put further scores on, including a try scored a minute after Underhill actually got his red card. So BAT basically fairly comfortable through the second half, and then ended up, as I said, POW 24, BAT 49. Okay, next game then. Actually, before we move on, so let's just talk about BAT. They were abject in the Champions Cup, and now they dropped down here. Now they got through that game, they might be thinking, okay, well, there's a possibility of a trophy on here for us. Now, they're not a team that are going to be worried about qualifying for next year's Champions Cup, because they're up there at the top of the Premiership at the minute. But if there's silverware on the line, maybe they're going to continue to take this competition seriously. Next then, we have Bayonne 22, Bulls 32. So halftime was 8-15. And first of all, the teams kind of swapped penalties early on. Then the Bulls, couple of tries to take the lead at the break. And then, they also scored early in the second half to kind of get a decent lead at that stage. And then from there, Bayonne would score a try, but then Bulls would score a try, and it was never at the point where Bayonne were really threatening to come back, over the top of the Bulls. And the Bulls even had Akker van der Merwe in the bin, but they managed that period very well. I don't think they conceded during that period. And that really was Bayonne's chance, to come back into it, and they couldn't. So, decent performance from the Bulls there. We didn't see anything really from them in the Champions Cup this year, which was disappointing. Part of that was, their selection policy away from home, and that was on the back of, disappointing performances at home as well. So, hopefully now they've got through to the quarterfinals, that they're gonna now, really take this seriously, because they saw what the Sharks did last year in lifting the trophy and what that did for them. It could, the Bulls, they've been trying to win a trophy since they joined the URC, 2 finals and still nothing to show for it. This is another chance for them for a trophy. So, and it'd be great to see them lifting the title as well, because they've been thereabouts all the way through in the URC. I was disappointed last year with how they went out of the Champions Cup, not really trying in their knockout game in terms of their selection. But hopefully this is something now, coupled with what the Sharks did last year, and now that they're into a quarter final, maybe they're going to start thinking, okay, let's go and let's actually win this. Okay, next game then is Montpellier 17, Gloucester 24. So Montpellier actually winning this one 17-14 at half time. And they get the perfect start, 2 tries in the first 10 minutes. And then, looking like it's going to be their day in this one. But then Gloucester did really well to get, back level in that first half with 2 tries of their own. And then just before the break, Montpellier put over a penalty to take the lead, but then they didn't score a point in the second half. And Gloucester, they scored a lead try, even when they had, I think it was Englefield was in the bin, and they, so a man down, but they scored the try to put them in the lead. And then Carreras with, I think 80th minute penalty or something to just seal the victory. So, decent from Gloucester there. And honestly, like Gloucester type of team that at this level, they can shine. I think if you pump them up into the Champions Cup, they really would struggle. But at this level, they certainly can deliver, and they showed it in this one as well. Fair play to them. They basically came from 14-0 down, to win 24-17. So that's like what a 21-point swing in their favor. So 34-point swing, but then you have the 3 points in the middle, right? But yeah, they did really well, I thought, overall, to get the win. And again, you look at all the teams in here, and it feels like, whoever's going to take it seriously, can give themselves a real chance, to get their hands on the European trophy. Okay, next then we have Perpignan 18, Racing 92-24. So Perpignan were actually winning this one 11-10 at half time. We have penalty and a converted try from Racing for them to lead 10-6. We had 2 Tommaso Allen penalties for Perpignan to stay in touch at that point. Then, the yellow card, they had a yellow card in the first half that allowed Racing to take the lead. And in that second half, then, not great, honestly, from them, because early try for Racing, so they retake the lead just after the break. Then, we have, Perpignan had actually scored. Yeah, Perpignan scored just before halftime, and I think, okay, yeah, they're doing well. Then Racing scored just after halftime. Then Perpignan retake the lead in the second half with about 25 minutes to go. And, this is one of these games where it was swinging back and forth. But then the final, like, you would have thought that it went down all the way to the wire, right? But the final score was like 25 minutes to go. Racing get over for a try, not for the want of trying by both teams, but yeah, it was a Natebu, I think, Natubi or something. He gets over anyway with 25 minutes to go, and that proves to be the winning score for Racing. So, kind of interesting one there, because, 2 French teams, generally French teams don't lose to French teams at home. So Racing did well going away, because Racing, they started their Champions Cup, very well this year with that win against Harlequins, and then just fell off a cliff. So at least they're showing something now, here. And, Owen Farrell, was kind of, was heavily involved as well in that win. So, good to see him, kind of performing well too out there. But yeah, final score, Perpignan 18, Racing 24. Then, next, and then Connacht 35, Cardiff 20. So Connacht, it was 14-8 to them at half time. They get a great start with an early try. Sheedy penalty then from Cardiff to keep them in touch. Then Hansen goes to the bin with 10 minutes to the break. Lilo gets over during that yellow card period for Cardiff. And then, like 4 minutes into the red before half time, then Janssen, who's been in great try scoring form for Connacht recently, he gets over for Connacht. And then, so that puts them back into the lead. Into the second half, then we got another try after the break for Connacht to get them like 21-8 at that stage. And looks like they're cruising. But then 2 tries in 6 minutes get Cardiff back within a point. And then Connacht, they never do things the easy way, right? So they let Cardiff get back within a point, and then they get 2 tries in the last 15 minutes to seal the win. And then Cardiff also had Thomas in the bin for the last 5 minutes or so of the game. So Connacht 35, Cardiff 20. So Cardiff, they're a young team. They've had a really good start to the season. They're falling away a little bit now, and we saw that as well in this game too. That maybe early on in the season, getting back within a point, they would have had something in the tank to actually go again and to go ahead, but they weren't able to do it in this one. And in Connacht, all season they've been so unpredictable. It's so like Connacht fans must like tear their hair out. You'd swear I was a Connacht fan, honestly. Look at my hair. But they must drive their fans nuts, I'd say. But Connacht 35, Cardiff 20. On to the next one then, it's Lyon 34, Sharks 21. So it's 27-7 at half time. Sharks actually score a try in the first minute. You think, okay, this is on, because looked at the Sharks team that they picked and I thought, they're not going to do anything, but get an early lead and things can change, right? But Lyon responded with a penalty, and then they get 3 tries in 10 minutes, and that was basically it. Like, they get a 4th try before half time for a very healthy 20-point lead. And then in the second half, even though Sharks edged the second half, still Lyon weren't really in any danger in terms of actually losing the game. Like, Sharks get 2 tries in the last 10 minutes, but game was already lost at that stage, and it's not really the way that they would have wanted to defend their title. But again, they didn't send their strongest side, so it's not like it's not like they put in the amount of effort that they did last year when they won the title as well. Okay, last game of the round then was Ospreys 36, Scarlets 14. It was 26-7 at half time. These two have been playing each other like it seems almost every week, because they played in like the URC just before this. Scarlets won comfortably, and the Ospreys kind of returned a favour in this one. So Ospreys 2 tries in the first 5 minutes. Then we have Blair Murray try on 10 minutes. Scarlets try and respond, but it's Ospreys who kick on before half time. 2 more tries to them before the break, and then they add another 2 tries in the kind of 20 minutes or so. I think a little bit over after half time, and then by the time Scarlets score again, like it's 10 minutes to go and the game is already gone. So one good thing about these two teams playing each other was that we're definitely going to have a Welsh team into the quarterfinals. We want to see that. We want to see the Welsh teams progressing. It's a pity for Cardiff. Obviously, somebody who was cheering for Connacht. I wanted Connacht to win, but still, I want to see all URC teams doing well. So it's good that the Ospreys are in there. And if Ospreys can do what they did last year in the URC, where they finished the season like in much better form, and went on a great run, they could do the same in this competition, and they could get themselves to semi-final or a final, or maybe even lift the trophy as well. So that's. Those are the results from the weekend. We're going to, as I said, very briefly look at the draw for the quarterfinals, and then we will, we'll have a preview Wednesday or Thursday of those quarterfinals. So that's why I don't want to talk too much about them. But we're going to start with the first quarterfinal, which is going to be on Saturday. It's the early game, 12:30 kickoff. It's Edinburgh versus the Bulls, so an all URC affair there. And the Bulls, again, if they pick a decent team, Edinburgh have been not just this season but in recent seasons very flaky. That you can go away to Edinburgh and win. It's not like going away to Glasgow. in recent years that, I think if that was Glasgow that the Bulls were going to, we'd probably definitely see a weakened side going. But even if they pick a weakened side, Edinburgh, again, sometimes they don't turn up, and the Bulls could definitely turn them over. So that's going to be an interesting one. But again, we'll talk more about it in the preview. Then at 5:30 on Saturday, you have Ospreys versus Lyon. So, Ospreys a home draw in the quarterfinal. They're against Lyon, who, in this competition, Lyon are like decent. They seem to always go deep into the competition. They have kind of what it takes to get to finals, lift the trophy, etc. But Ospreys at home absolutely have to fancy themselves in that one. Then next one then is Connacht versus Racing 92. Honestly, like it's a tough one again, because Connacht at home, like most teams at home, again, you look at the Ospreys team at home and you think they should win because they're at home. But Connacht at home, kind of similar to Edinburgh, right? That they're so up and down that they could be at home and they could get destroyed, or they could be at home and win easily. But knowing Connacht, it's going to be a game where there's probably 8 or 9 tries or more, and there'll be like one score in it by the end to either team. Like that's a typical Connacht game, honestly. But they are at home, so they should be considered the favourites for this. Racing, yes, they went away to Perpignan to win, but can they do the same as well? Over in the Dexcom in Galway, that's going to be a tough assignment for them. And again, if Connacht turn up, you would expect them to win at home, because I'd say these two teams kind of at similar levels. Because Racing are another team who are very flaky as well, in terms of just you never know what team is turning up. So whichever team actually performs on the day really wins that one, right? On to then the final one. It's an all English affair, so there's definitely going to be an English team in the semi-finals, and that's Bath versus Gloucester. So Gloucester, who've gone through this competition from the pool stages, Bath, who dropped down from the Premiership. If you just went on Premiership form, obviously Bath are top of the league, so you'd expect Bath to progress there. But then you have to think about, are Bath going to maybe prioritise the league in terms of, getting a decent draw now that things are getting down to the wire there, and does that kind of open the door for Gloucester? But also we see with the English teams, when they're playing each other, sometimes it feels like it's rock, scissors, paper in the Premiership, right? Bath might, let's say they hammer Bristol one week, and then Bristol go out and hammer Saracens, then Saracens hammer Bath, that kind of thing, right? So it could be that Gloucester, for whatever reason on the day, just the way they're playing their rugby, Bath can't cope with it and they get through. But it's certainly going to be an interesting one there between the two Premiership teams, and because of that. Because of the draw, really, they're the only, the English are the only country with a team guaranteed to get through to through to the semi-finals. We could have 2 French teams in there, and we potentially could have 3 URC teams in there as well. So we're definitely going to have 1 URC team. But yeah, very interesting matchups, I think, in the quarterfinals. It's always good to see each of the leagues as well, represented there too. You don't want to see one nation or one league kind of eliminated too early in the competition, but we'll talk more about these when we do the preview. We'll talk a bit more about how the teams progressed, etc. from there. So that's the end of that one. Hopefully you're not too disappointed that we didn't cover Challenge Cup more in depth this week, but we definitely will on the coming weekend.